At 5 p.m. Today, we are expecting, because technically Colorado has not applied for membership, but all the university presidents in the Big 12 have been like, well, if they do, wink, 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 then we unanimously approve this. Tom, we've sort of spun out a lot of different ways of what the next wave of conference realignment is going to be. And I think that like next moves might be the next part of this conversation. But for Colorado, going back to the Big 12, returning to the Big 12, do you like the move if you are Colorado?
I like the move if I'm Colorado, simply because I have little confidence in what the Pac-12 is doing and where the Pac-12 is going. So I think that if you're looking at that situation, getting some kind of stability with the television deal, because like George Kliavkoff can say whatever he wants when they're doing the Pac-12 media days on Friday. The presidents of the schools and the ADs can keep saying what they want about the television contract. But the fact is, they don't have a TV contract yet. And the fact that they don't have one after all this time kind of tells you everything you need to know about what kind of offers they're getting. They could say the longer we wait, the more suitors we get. It's like, yeah, but those suitors are probably coming in trying to buy extremely low on your inventory. So I think if you're Colorado, this is probably, you gave them a chance. It's not like you were rushing to get out. You were doing your due diligence. You've been sitting there for a long time. The offers that you're looking for and the money that you were looking for hasn't come in, so you're making the move. That said, the Big 12 you're going back to, it's not the Big 12 you left. I tweeted it this morning. Here is the list of schools that were in the Big 12 the last time Colorado was there, the 2010 season. Baylor, Colorado, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech. Of those schools, Colorado left but is coming back. Missouri's gone. Nebraska's gone. Oklahoma's gone. Texas is gone. Texas A&M is gone. They've been replaced by BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, TCU, UCF, and West Virginia. It's like moving back home after college to find out your parents have rented your room to a bunch of vagrants. It is not the same Big 12 that you left, but it is a better situation than the one you currently have, apparently, in the Pac-12. And we don't know, like you mentioned, we don't know exactly what the next move is going to be. I don't think the Big 12 plans on sitting at, 13 schools now?
No, I agree with that. Okay. So, Bud, if you're Colorado, do you like this?
Yeah, because of the certainty, right? I mean, Colorado, they went to the Pac-12 because they wanted to be closer to California for recruiting purposes, both in terms of student athletes, but also in terms of academics. I guess Dion is having an outsized impact in their choices, and Dion is a Texas guy. I know he grew up in Florida and played at FSU, but he makes his home in Texas. So I guess he's having some influence there. I mean, look, if you're Colorado, you're kind of in no man's land. You're not really a Big 12 team as far as geography, but you're not that far off now, especially since they've expanded with BYU and some of those schools. And you're not truly a Pac-12 team. I mean, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Like if I'm a Colorado fan, I am probably happy that I'm on more solid footing now than I was. I don't think Colorado is going to miss any of the annual games. I'm not even going to call them rivalries because I don't think they are rivalries at this point. I don't think Colorado will miss any of the annual games that they have been playing in the Pac-12. Maybe they miss having that trip to the West Coast to play one of the LA schools, but that was going away anyway because those schools are going to the Big Ten. I am interested in seeing the domino effects of this, and I don't want to jump the gun. I know we'll get there, but I think it is premature to judge the entirety of this move to see who else goes with them. Is this a UConn, or is it like somebody else within the Pac-12?
Yeah, the sense that I have gotten is that Brett Yormark wants to be at 14. He wants that league to be at 14, maybe bigger, but in losing Texas and Oklahoma, they would drop back down to 12. And there's the wrinkle, as it's been reported, that in the Big 12's deal with ESPN and Fox, there are financial incentives to expansion rather than, being worried that you're just going to have to cut up the pie. There will be more money added to it.
Yeah, they add the full share.
Yeah, it's Colorado's.
If it's a Power 5 school.
Yeah, Colorado's going to get $31.2 million, which is going to put them right on par with, the ACC, everybody else in the Big 12. Like, this is, to me, a smart financial move for Colorado. But, Bud, you're right. The next step can fork off in many directions. And, man, it is so frustrating around this time because, you get, like, lightly connected somebody gets on there is like, I think I know the other team, the other school that's leaving, and it might surprise you. You're like, well, what? I mean, well, this is all a little bit surprising. I mean, but does anything surprise us with conference?
If we're going to couch it, look, if we're going to couch this kind of reporting in like this other team that might be leaving, just say the school name. You're already equivocating with the word might.
Yeah. So, Bud, you mentioned the UConn.
There's a lot of like expansionist Twitter accounts that pop up every couple of years, and
it's tough it's tough to trace. But what do you think? How do you think this forks off?
So I don't think the UConn stuff is entirely fake. That is not me saying that UConn will be going to the Big 12. I do not know, right? I don't really do the expansion reporting for the most part. If there's any legitimate interest in UConn, it is clearly a bet that Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, thinks that basketball is undervalued in the current college landscape. Now, there have been a lot of rumblings that they're going to allow overtime kids to come back and play college hoops, and they're going to allow G League kids to come back and play college hoops. And this is actually not entirely unprecedented. If you Google like Miami, Ohio, and their hockey program, at one point they had dudes who legitimately had played in the NHL on their expansion hockey program. So at one time back in the 70s, the NHL or the NCAA did allow for things like that. Maybe this is a bet on that. And I do think if you are a good enough basketball league, clearly like basketball is not going to be on the same footing as football. I hope Brett Yormark does not think that. But due to the way the NCAA tournament is trending, the power league's desire to maybe try to take that thing back, that does still make a lot of money. The way this was explained to me by somebody who I do trust was that if they get good enough at hoops, it makes it really hard to exclude them from the future of football if you're worried about a power two. So maybe like the hoops is their hook, even though we know the football in the Big 12, like they don't have anybody who recruits at a consistent, even top 15 level, right? And I wouldn't expect that to change. So they're not a national title contending league, even though TCU made the title game. But I kind of read into the UConn rumors that Yormark really values basketball.
Yeah, I mean that's 100. He very much values basketball. I mean, he's had the
Rucker Park.
Yeah, he had the Rucker Park camp in New York last week or the week before. I mean, it is weird if you are just a college football fan. Like Colorado is getting, I think, from a PR standpoint, being the Big 12, being able to say we've taken another school from another Power 5 program, because they've lost schools to other Power 5 programs. None of the replacements they've had have come from P5s. This is the first one. So that I think is good PR, but Colorado, while I love it, is not exactly, it's not a program that's going to come in and be a dominant kind of powerhouse, or at least it hasn't shown an ability to in 30 years. Maybe it can get back to it. But then like UConn, throwing that in there, it's like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, UConn football, a program that has been through a lot of conferences in recent years and has had a strong basketball program throughout, but really hasn't added anything of value to the football conferences once they join, even with that basketball program. So maybe I definitely think there's room to grow on the basketball side of television wise, but I think all that room is in the NCAA tournament. I don't know how much room there is to grow as far as like the regular season revenue that they get. So I don't know what kind of overall impact that would have on the conference. I think, Bud, what you were saying a second ago is right. I think they're just kind of using basketball as a hook to stay connected to the Big Two, because they know they're going to need them in the NCAA tournament. But I don't know. Like Brett Yormark has done some very smart things, I think, as far as dealing with the hand he's been dealt, like getting in the TV deal that if we add P5s, we're just going to add a share because that makes it more attractive for schools that they're trying to draw in. But I'm not completely sold on the UConn. There's also been talk of the Gonzaga coming as a basketball only school. I wouldn't put too many of my eggs in the basketball basket, but at the same time, maybe if you just feel like this is really the best shot we've got, let's play the hand we've been dealt and see what we get. Maybe we get lucky on the river. Who knows?
Yeah, the Colorado.
Georgia's going to Georgia's going to sign more blue chip prospects than the entire new Big 12 combined, right? Or at least like more guys in the top 247. So maybe, do you go get the best available basketball program, or do you go get like the 60th best football program? And that's putting it charitable. Like that's kind of Colorado's ceiling, I don't know.
This particular move is not the one that would trigger the Gonzaga situation. I think the Gonzaga situation exists on an island. I think that UConn probably is having some tough discussions internally about whether it wants to do this because, you know, the Big East has been really good for UConn ever since they got back. This has been the rise. And
I think
look,
they just won a national title or something, you know.
and their head coach, who they really love and who embraces everything about it, he kind of likes, you know, that Big East footprint and the way that things exist up there. And to all of a sudden be joining this conference, which stretches across the whole continental United States. Like, yes, you would be playing against Kansas and Houston and like these massive basketball programs, but and like potentially even Gonzaga. That's where if it's Colorado, but then UConn, and you're also adding Gonzaga, like now you've got yourself a really good basketball pitch. If you just add Colorado and UConn, then like, is UConn happy with that experience? I don't
think so.
I don't think so. Okay, so let's one final piece of this. What's going on in the Pac-12 office right now?
I don't know. I mean,
what's the Pac-12 group chat looking like as when it says Colorado has left the conversation?
I think he has not great cards, but I don't think that Kliavkoff has played them particularly well, right? Some notable missteps just in my mind when he said Deion Sanders is a big part of our TV rights deal going forward. Well, now it looks like Colorado is leaving. I maintain that regardless of who the coach is, even like a Nick Saban level guy, your conference needs to be bigger than to be pitching a coach for its TV deal. And then last week, I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically kind of intimated that the storm was over, right? In that response that we were all in that room. I don't have his exact quote in front of me. So, look, Colorado leaving could be a sign that the Pac-12 does not have a deal coming. I think we can't totally infer that. It could just be Colorado wants to get to the Big 12 and has more confidence in the leadership of the Big 12. So I don't want to be like, that means nothing is coming. But it does make me wonder.
I mean, like, yeah, I don't think if you can keep the remaining schools, there's 9 left. If you can keep them all, I don't think it's impossible to replace Colorado. I think if you get a San Diego State or somebody, you're going to keep on keeping on, and it's really not going to hurt your value too much. It's just now that Colorado is left. I mean, if Kliavkoff is up there last week saying how we've ridden out the storm, and then Colorado leaves, well, that storm is still raging. And, you know, like, is Arizona going to follow them? Because Arizona has not exactly been shy.
Oh, yeah, that's the other part about the basketball conference. Yeah, then you get Arizona, too. And all of a sudden it's like,
well, Arizona's media, especially their like fan site media, has been really all about we're going to leave. Arizona administration does not seem to have the same fervor for it. So I'm curious, like, is Arizona's admin just keeping a strong Pac-12 public face while doing some stuff behind the scenes, which is certainly possible, right?
Yeah,
like there's absolutely a chance that the Arizona media knows what's really going on and that the Arizona admin is just kind of doing lip service in public. There's also a chance that this is a bit of wish casting on their part and that the Pac-12 really Arizona has no desire to leave the Pac-12. I don't know.
Arizona seems like it could potentially be a candidate. Oregon and Washington are arguably the biggest brands, right? The most valuable properties that the Pac-12 still has within its membership. Do you expect either of those schools to be involved with this? Like, is that a situation where they are among the next out the door, or do they end up being nice, a nice addition if the whole thing falls apart?
I have no idea, but just pure common sense wise, I think that they would go somewhere together. And I think conferences would want them together, not because of the rivalry, but just for travel reasons. Like, if you're Oregon or Washington, and whether you join the Big 12 or the Big 10 or the ACC or SEC, whatever conference you leave for, that's a lot of traveling. You'd like to have somebody close by. Like, there's a reason USC and UCLA both went to the Big 10 and not just USC. So if one of them leaves, I feel like both of them would have to go to that conference. So if they follow Colorado to the Big 12, then I think somebody else is coming with them, whether that's a Utah, one of the Arizona schools, or UConn, or maybe even Gonzaga is like, all right, screw it, let's play football too. So it's just, I can't rule it out at this point. I don't think anything is imminent, but I didn't think Colorado was going to be joining the Big 12 yesterday or today. So here we are.
Bud, any predictions before we hit the break and get back into some of these live questions and ACC talk?
I predict that Colorado will not be the last team to announce that it is leaving a conference before we kick off football season.
What if it's like Stanford? What if that would just be the ultimate kind of like, huh?
Stanford to the Big 12?
Yeah, Stanford's like, screw it.
Oh,
let's go farming, boys.
I mean, with that little and it's one you might not be thinking of. I was like, and that, it makes me so angry because I fall for it every single time. I'm like, so what am I not thinking of? Is it Oregon State? The Oregon State and Washington State are the one, and Stanford and Cal are the ones where I'm like, man, I don't know what happens. But
Oregon Big 12 would shock me.
Would shock
right?
You.
Yeah. Oregon Big 12. Big 10? No.
Competitively, Oregon
it'd be good for them.
Better off in the Big 12 than in the Big 10.
But that's a lot of traveling to every single game.
Oregon has legit NIL money, and there's a very good chance that once USC is gone, Oregon has the best roster in the Pac-12, and maybe by a good margin if they keep spending. And I think Dan Lanning does a hell of a job there. So
I think Oregon would have the best roster in the Big 12.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Big 12 is probably more competitive, but it has less top-end teams.
Right. I was saying competitively.
Washington might win the new Big 12.
Oregon jumps into the Big 10, they fall to 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They join the Big 12, they jump to 1.
Agreed. But you could stay in the Pac-12. You still have 3 more years upcoming, right, of guaranteed playoff spots and stay on the West Coast and kind of survey the landscape. So I would be surprised if Oregon jumped to the Big 12 unless it was allowed to sign some kind of really, really short TV deal.